What's up, crypto specialist, IR4 subscribers, patrons, fans, family, followers from around the world? It's your boy, Jeremy Alexander Newsom. Our friend and co-host, Brian Masterson, was unavailable to be in today's episode due to some scheduling conflicts and some changes and some moving around of this particular session. But you're going to enjoy it immensely. I get a chance to interview Miss Calley Nye, and you're going to love this chat. Some great new projects, along with some new blockchain solutions, some good questions, some great answers. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much for being a part of the IR4 podcast. I appreciate you submitting all of the poll results came through. They were delicious. So much good information. We're going to keep bringing it your way. You absolutely rock. Let's dive in and do this. Calley, welcome to the IR4 podcast. It's very honorably and exciting to have you here.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and I was talking to you earlier, right before we did the intro. Fortunately / unfortunately, you are the second woman ever that we've had on the show. So it's just been a bunch of male nerds just chatting. So thank you. It means a lot that you spend your time.
Change it up with some lady nerds.
It is. So speaking about lady nerds, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What do you specialize in? And give us some good stuff.
Sure. I started working in marketing when I was 18. I basically was addicted to MySpace like every 18-year-old of the day. So I just started working with various bands and makeup brands on social media. And then I did that for 5 years. That brought me out to LA. Then I kind of fell in love with technology and I started a tech blog. I started working at TechCrunch. I just kind of got bit by the bug. It was just like addicted to technology.
Sure.
And then, I had to experience firsthand some of the misogyny in Silicon Valley. So I had to basically I learned that I just needed to be really good. And so I just started learning how to code and build my own products. And so then I moved back to Connecticut to train and just learn as much as I could.
Right.
Then I came back here and I started working in startups. I worked at CrowdRise, which got acquired by GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. And then I founded a company called Popularium, which is basically a storytelling platform for, our stories about the products that we've experienced.
Right. And
then I started investing in crypto and then just got bit by another bug.
Yeah.
So it's been about a year, but it's been a really interesting year.
It has. How'd you hear about crypto? Was it just a friend at work or just someone kind of randomly?
Yeah, it was a bunch of things all together. A few years earlier, I was working at CrowdRise and there was this one guy who was let's do a blockchain meetup. And I was like, what the hell's a blockchain? But that I just started planting all these seeds, but then eventually I had this really annoying coworker at one company who just kept talking about it every day. So despite all that, I looked into it anyway, and I started seeing the power of it. And at the time, I think Ethereum was $14.
Wow.
So, yeah. So as soon as that started going up, I was like, okay, this is cool.
Sure.
And I had only been investing. I was, working on a startup salary, which was basically nothing. So I was investing $5 a week.
Right. Right.
And then after 2 or 3 months, I was like, oh, I have $1,000. How the hell did that
happen? Yeah. So that's how it happens for sure, at least in the crypto space. I mean, when it started happening for a lot of people, because at least that's awesome, because I too was doing the same thing with Ethereum. Because a year ago it was at $14, which was nothing. That's incredible. Let me bring up your Twitter really quick, because I truly feel like this is one of the this is a great Twitter. I follow your stuff. You have a lot of followers. You tweet often. So this is at Calley Nye. So is Nye that your last name, or is it Bill Nye kind of a thing?
Yeah, that's my real last name.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Not one of these influencers that walks around with sunglasses and a bandana over my face.
Gotcha. So tell us about, is it pronounced Siren? Siren.
Siren.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Siren is a company that I've had for a while. It was kind of my freelance development company. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting into, after spending some months in crypto, I started seeing just like all of the tech needs from like just in general. Like I've kind of focused on like in my development career, I focused on like usability and design. So seeing some of the stuff that's in the crypto world is not great for those two things. So I originally kind of set out to be like, we're going to start a development agency and like kind of improve the usability and UX of things. And then I had the opportunity to become a growth hacker for the Referium token sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, it ended up just being me in the beginning, but then, more and more people wanted to work with me. So I started hiring a team. So it became like basically like multidisciplinary, group where we do marketing, growth hacking, community management, web development, product development, app development, all sorts of things.
Gotcha. So what's your main programming language?
I was never really a programmer. If anything, I was like, played around with JavaScript a bit, but for the most part, I was more of a like CSS, HTML, more on the design side.
Okay.
Which was it's a fun specialty for me because there were so few people who were like dedicated to that I was able to kind of like have a niche.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's that's the rise of software. Software as a service and having people being able to code that and create, the biggest hotel company in the world with no hotels and Airbnb. I mean, things like that are phenomenal. So you live in or outside of LA, you mentioned. So how's the buzz over there, just in that general area of the world with the crypto space? Was it as crazy as everywhere else in the world?
Yeah. What I love about LA is it's always been this kind of not Silicon Valley tech area. Like It's kind of the opposite of Silicon Valley, where like Silicon Valley, everyone takes themselves so seriously. Everything's so intense. Like there's just like the culture is really different. But here it's like you take care of yourself. People it kind of like encourages more of like a work-life balance, where like you go for drinks and hang out. And like the events here, there's a lot of crypto events, like one every day. If you wanted to go to one, there'd be one. They're crazy. Last week I was invited to like 7 different events, and I had to like pick and choose which ones I had to go to. But they're cool because like some of them are like outside near the beach, and like it's like you can't beat it. I've been to meetups in other places, and they're just like they're so different. It's a lot more inspiring around here.
I like that. Wow, that's really good. Is there any specific like LA-based blockchain companies or blockchain solutions that are coming out or being formed or created that you know of that you find interesting?
Yeah, well, there's Gem is out here. I work with a company called Lucidity. They're out here. They're based in Marina del Rey. And who else is out here? Impact PPA is another one of my clients.
Okay.
They're based out here. There's just a ton. There's EOS, I think, is mainly based here.
Yeah.
Shios, which is an all-female block producer, is based here in LA. Yeah, there's a ton. I'm not really. I know that there's a lot more.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton around here, and if they're not based here, it's something that it's like, everybody kind of flies to New York for something, then to LA. So LA is on the loop, so you get a lot of people from other cities kind of visiting all the time. No,
it makes tons of sense. Do you have any ones that are your favorite? Anything that you really like or that you find truly innovative in that space or in that area was regarding blockchain or the crypto space specifically?
I mean, there's so many projects that I think are awesome. I think there's like a lot of kinks to work out with just most of the crypto, the way people look at crypto.
Yeah.
Working in ICOs, token sales is interesting because like part of me is just like, this doesn't seem like a system that is going to last very long. Like these ICOs that like basically hundreds of ICOs happening at once and making like after what happens after the ICO, like who's making sure that those things are getting done and achieved. And so one part of me is like, I love ICOs because it gives me a lot of work, but the other part is like, how long is this going to last?
That's so true. I mean, honestly, that's something that we talk about a lot on the podcast is just the ICOs and the viability and what they're going to be actually creating, what they're doing, because you have this almost run on the banks, if you will, to just get more money to create more ICOs, to create more launches. I mean, for my favorite probably is Banana Coin.
Oh yeah. What's the dynamic?
it is exactly what it sounds like. They're raising money to buy more farmland, to plant more banana trees, to grow more bananas. Like that's what it is. And I'm like, guys, this is not a blockchain issue. Like that's they're just creating an ICO.
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely right. There's a ginormous distinction, at least I feel like, between a company that's going to go to ICO and they're just raising money and are they going to crash or not, and then one that's providing an actual solution to some type of centralized agency right now that's going to become decentralized and power to the people kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the things that I've just been thinking about is that my approach to marketing is unique because, like, in the crypto space, there's a lot of fake stuff. There's a lot of payola. Like, all of the media in crypto is bought and paid for. Like every publication costs money to get published in. Like, there's not like as much honesty in this process. And so what happens is these ICOs have to play those games. So like a lot of people will do like, advertising. Like there's some publications that cost like $8,000 to get an article, like some of the main ones. And so, you do that and it's just like, it kind of like dilutes the entire industry. It makes it like impossible to actually achieve this real stuff that we all want to achieve because nothing in the process is real. And so my approach has always been like, let's try to be as real as possible. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to get the same results as the ones that, play the fake games, like with doing airdrops and bounties and these things that just bring people in that aren't there for the right reasons. Like those numbers might get you to what you need to get to for your token sale, but it's not going to create what you need to create to have the lasting company after the token sale. Like that, you need like a real community of engaged people who are there for the right reasons. And so it's one thing that I've been trying to encourage more of in like the work that I do, just trying to make things as real as possible. So it's a challenge, and like there's some real problems that are going to have to be addressed, and someone's going to have to pay the price at some point. That might be what we're going through right now, but it's not stable. What's been happening?
Interesting. I have to echo your sentiments entirely. Tell me a little bit about that. Your marketing and your I don't know, your approach to marketing. You mentioned is a little bit more real. How do you go about that? Do you use like testimonies, videos? Like how do you go about marketing in a more real, tangible, solidarity kind of way on the internet?
It's hard, but it all boils down. I don't like to make what I do sound so easy, but like in my the way that I kind of approach it, I feel like it is. It's like you kind of just generally have to care about people. Like you have to care about the people who are going to be affected by this, and like share that with other people. Like with Impact PPA, they're a current client of mine, and they're doing some really amazing stuff. They have a fully decentralized from end to end approach for distributing renewable energy to the developing world.
Wow.
So like basically, in places like parts of Haiti and like Africa, these like in the developing nations, they don't have the contract enforceability that utility companies require. Like you have a utility company, it's based on credit. Like you get a bill every month for the power that you use because we have infrastructure for contract enforceability. They can sue you, they can get the money from you somehow. But in the developing world, they don't have that. Sometimes they don't even have addresses or streets, so they have no way to, send a bill. So what they have Impact PPA does is they have to, all the power in these places are prepaid. You have to like go to a bank and say, I'm going to buy 30 years worth of power for this village. And you have to prepay for that power for 30 years. And then you bring it to those people, you allow them to pay for it. With right now they've been using cell phone minutes. So if you want a minute of power, you have to prepay in cell phone minutes. So it's a perfect solution for the blockchain. It's a way to like get, that infrastructure where people can actually use power, because all of these other things that we require, like, for example, like if we want Bitcoin to be accepted as payments in these types of countries it kind of advance the unbanked.
Right.
How are we going to do that if they don't have access to power their cell phones?
Wow.
Like power is really like the baseline for all the stuff that needs to happen. And so like to work on that and to make it honest, like I care about those people who are going to be, who are like, a lot of people have a problem with like So I'm basically making money off of these poor people who don't have access to power. And it's like, they just want the power. You know, they can pay for it. You know, they just don't have the infrastructure to have the power any other way.
Right.
So you're giving them it away, and in the process, you're also potentially, you know, you can make money off of it. It's a security token. So you basically get dividends from the people who are paying for that power that you funded.
Wow. So I just pulled up the website, Impact PPA. What does PPA stand for, if you know?
A PPA is the power purchase agreement.
Okay, duh.
Those are, right now, a lot of companies do them. A lot of companies like Google and other big companies use it as a way to like have a carbon offset. But for the most part, they're funded by organizations like the World Bank. Right now, it takes like 5 to 10 years to get them funded. Wow. So 5 to 10 years if people don't have power, but it's a perfect solution for the blockchain because it's called a smart PPA. So you're crowdfunding it through a token. And then there's another token that people can pay for power with.
Now, did you and your team work on the website or the videos or the actual just social media marketing, or if you're allowed to tell me, how did you play a part of this?
So usually what we do is, you know, we kind of are responsible for like all messaging. So, you know, we don't necessarily produce everything, but, you know, we talk about like a coherent strategy. Mm-hmm. We've done some work on the website, but on this website, we haven't done everything. We can, it just hasn't been something that we did for them yet. But we do a lot of like community management, like Telegram stuff. We do social media. We do all sorts of fun stuff. Gotcha. And we also do some like general networking, business development stuff.
I appreciate you sharing that with me because I had no idea that existed. I love learning new things every day, so that's super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. There's some really cool projects out there. They try to stay focused on like what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think I wish more people would do that. You know, instead of jumping from ICO to ICO or crypto to crypto. Kind of like, I love the people that like really get into those like individual projects and, you know, kind of focus on those.
Oh yeah, no, without question, absolutely. What blockchain is that being built on? Is that an ERC20 token?
Yeah.
Okay. Good old Ethereum, man, being the concrete of so many apps.
I know it's been with my other client Lucidity, we've been focused a lot on like layer 2 solutions, like the scaling solutions, because they've implemented Plasma and sharding on theirs because they're in the advertising protocol space. And so, you know, the problem with digital advertising is it doesn't scale as well with the Ethereum blockchain because of the speed at which, like, you know, ad impressions happen.
Yeah. So
they've actually implemented some really cool layer 2 scaling solutions on theirs.
Now, can you spell that one for me? Is that how do you spell Lucidity?
It's LUCIDITY.
Okay. Blockchain, got it.
Yeah. Lucidity.
Yeah, advertising protocol. Lucidity.tech. Ooh,
they actually just won the blockchain startup of 2018 at Blockchain Expo in Amsterdam.
Look at that, you're just throwing knowledge bombs on me right now. I love this.
It's actually a news from today. It's a good day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay. So advertising today is complex and opaque. Ad budgets are encumbered by inefficiencies, data discrepancies, and fraud. Billing can take weeks. Interesting. So many cool things. Well, I definitely have to check out those two because, like I said, my goal. I mean, I'd love to bring on, you know, some of these companies that really are making these impacts and working with people and trying to grow and figure out what type of blockchain solution or what blockchain the solution can create for individual, you know, components and sectors and ecospheres.
Yeah. It's such an interesting space, seeing all the solutions. Like, my favorite thing is reading these new white papers and being like, I didn't even know that was a problem, but now it can be solved.
Yeah. What's one that you think is overhyped? Like, is there a certain sector that is just getting way too much like blockchain love, and they really are? Like, I mentioned to some buddies the other day, if you see the word social, you know, social whatever, social ecosphere, social denomination, social crypto space, it's like you can probably cut that up.
I don't know. There's so many. I mean, I'm kind of sick of the exchanges and like, you know, like having all of these decentralized exchanges coming out and doing the token sales. Like, we have enough exchanges that have enough problems. Solve those problems. Keep creating new ones. And what else is there? So there's some in like the energy space. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't really like most of the energy ones. I got like a lot of other people. I kind of got burned by the power ledger.
Yeah.
ICO like early on in my ICO days, like when I was just investing. And so one of the problems with like most energy projects is like they just don't like they require too much infrastructure. Like some of the bigger scale ones that kind of require like a new power grid, and like they're just like you're like 30 years away from actually having anything actually implemented. That's why I really liked it by PPA, because it was like you fund it and they'll literally go build it the next week. It's crazy.
Right. That is massive.
Yeah.
So I would feel bad if I didn't ask you, and you can just throw this out in any direction you want. Where's your thoughts and vision and opinion on just the granddaddy, the number one guy, Bitcoin, the next 5 years?
I don't know. I'm so torn on Bitcoin because part of me has to think that the problem with Bitcoin in the United States is that people don't understand what it's for, because we're like, what, you can't buy coffee with it? That's stupid. It's like worthless.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's such a first world problem that it doesn't actually, it's not indicative of what the power of what Bitcoin can be for other countries and other people in the world. So I know that like part of my opinion is skewed by that, but at the same time, like, it really was Ethereum that made people be like, oh, blockchain can do so much more than we actually thought. And so like Ethereum was really like what turned the tide for Bitcoin. And so I do think that the reason why Bitcoin kind of skyrocketed was based on Ethereum also skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. At some point, though, I think we're going to wise up and be like, oh, this isn't actually Bitcoin. This is Ethereum that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And like, and maybe it could switch. I really don't know. Like there's a lot of smart people who have said like, it's going to be worth $1 million. It's going to be worth 100,000. It's going to be worth 50,000 by the end of the year. And I'm not going to say they're wrong. I really have no idea, but it just doesn't feel right, because it's like Bitcoin. I haven't been seeing that many updates or news about like things that are happening in the Bitcoin world. Mm-hmm. That's usually what drives different changes in price. It's like somebody doing something to actually like change stuff. But I'm definitely like. I don't know as much because I've just been so busy with actually working that I haven't kept up on like a lot of the news. But I don't know. This whole year has been kind of surprising. It was funny because I was doing a token sale when like in December. I was working at Referium, and so there were token sales in February. So I kind of like we suffered through that horrible market in December and January, and like I was like, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back, and then like. April 15th came around and it started going back up again, but like it's been weird. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I wish I was smarter and I could just like know the answer to that question. Or at least like psychic or something. But
yeah, I wish you were psychic. That would be wonderful. No. If you could foretell the future for me. No, so do you have holdings still? You mentioned you were trading Ethereum a while back. Do you still own some? Are you still planning on buying some every single week, $5 a week, or is that increased or decreased?
Yeah, it was. I stopped buying for a while because for a while I was getting paid in crypto. So I was just like, there's some for me, and I'll just leave some in there.
Yep.
So it wasn't kind of like a purposeful thing, but I want to get back into like buying regularly and actually investing.
Sure.
But it's definitely been a while. There's just so much happening all the time. It's really hard to keep. It's easily a full-time job to invest in crypto. Like not doing it full time is like, so you have to be very specific with your strategies. Like otherwise you're just overwhelmed with information all the time. Yeah,
no, without question. 24/7, 365 market. It's a challenge. It is a challenge. Do you have any other coins that you have any opinions on, like Dash or Ripple? Do you have any thoughts or feelings on those?
So I was really kind of bullish on Ripple. And I remember I was actually traveling for the holidays when it was like $2 or whatever it was, like at the height of it. Mm-hmm. And I had my ledger and I was like, I should really just sell my Ripple right now. It's like, I don't know if it's going to, I was like, I can buy it later. but then my ledger broke. I bought like a bad one.
Oh no.
And so I was like, I couldn't sell for like 2 months. And by the time I got it back, it was back down to like 15 cents or something. I was like, that's my shot.
Shoot.
But like, I've heard some stuff about Ripple that like, there's Ripple and XRP, that whole chess, that like Ripple is a popular company, but XRP is actually not used anywhere. Like I've heard things like that. So I have some. I haven't gotten rid of it. I'm pretty patient person, so I don't mind like keeping these bags for. The first altcoin I ever bought was Sia.
Oh, okay.
And I will not let go of that bag for the life of me. Like I bought it at 2 cents. It went down to like 0.02 cents at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I'm still holding.
The bag holding mentality. So many people are fighting through that right now.
I've been really getting into though. I started playing with Masternode coins recently.
Okay.
Because I'm a big believer in that. Like the dips are for learning new things. So I was like, I don't know anything about masternodes or mining, so let me figure this out. So there's a project that I play around with. I have 16 masternodes in it. It's called Xuma. XUMA. It's a decentralized database, and it's a really fun project. I mean, I started with it like 2 weeks after it launched. I started mining, so I was one of like the very first. So I'm just like now I just have masternodes, and I take the payouts that I get from the masternodes, and I buy new masternodes with them. So I'm getting a new.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Wow. So Xuma. I'm just pulling this up right now. Again, another learning experience. Thank you. So wow, there's 2,000 active masternodes.
Yeah.
Jeez. So 68% of the coins unlocked. I'm not going to go through it. I'm just pulling up on my chart. You'll be able to see in the recording. I'm looking at my screen, even though I could share my screen. Well, what's your thoughts on Dash then with its masternode capabilities?
Dash is interesting. The governance model is really interesting to me as a community manager, because I've been thinking a lot about this lately, that when you have a governance token, which to me is actually decentralization, ICOs aren't really, it might be a centralized technology, but the company is still a central body. And so with these decentralized organizations, I really love the governance model, because it actually makes the community if not as important, if not more important than the technology behind the coin itself. Because it's, you have a community now, and now your community is going to decide the future of your token. So you have to like be political. You have to like, lobby for the things that you want, and but everybody has to buy into it. And it's interesting, like, especially seeing what happened with EOS when their mainnet launched. They didn't have enough people voting because they didn't have enough of a focus on community. So it's interesting to see it. And so I really like that about all the decentralized companies like Dash and things like that. I've been learning a lot the past couple months about it. But I don't like Dash is a cool product.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not like a huge user of it. I'm not really a big follower of the project itself, but
sure.
I saw them at a conference one day, and it seemed like a pretty cool project.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any. I don't own any of that one.
Gotcha. So here's a question for you. What do you think about the world as a cashless society in 10 years? Is that too early? Is it definitely going to happen? Just not by then?
We basically are a cashless society, whether people like to admit it or not. But I like, my world comes crashing down when somebody's like, "Oh, I need cash." Like I'm like, I don't even know. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I was at a parking garage for, I was telling you about the convention I was in Pasadena, and they only accepted cash for parking, and I was dumbfounded. I was like, I don't know. Do I turn around and leave? Because I don't have cash. So, no, yeah, you're totally right. And the interesting part is, someone mentioned the other day, like talking about buying houses and mortgages, things like that, using cash. I'm like, dude, you're just signing a paper, and then you give it to the bank, and then they mail you a bill, and then you mail them, your bank statement. Like, you're never actually going to the bank and paying your mortgage. Like, I don't know anyone who's done that in years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is insanely, it's just asinine to even think that. But what is really interesting, in my opinion, with the whole Bitcoin fluctuation in price, in order for Bitcoin to really become the or a main global use of real currency, I mean, the fluctuations are going to have to calm down a little bit. And that's why people really liked Ripple, is because it had a lot more liquidity and it was a little bit tighter range. Because if you go use the US dollar, even though we have inflation and deflation, if you're buying for, let's just say a hamburger or something, it's going to cost you $5 one day. It's not going to cost you $25 the next day. But that's the challenge that you're going to have with Bitcoin, is just those massive fluctuations that people are saying to be a viable currency.
For sure. And that's definitely the biggest blocker to like any kind of adoption is the stuff that we like, because we were early and we want to make money off of it. So like selfishly, we are like, we want that volatility. That's how, that's how we made money. But to really see it take hold, like it's going to need to stop, or there's going to need to be a new solution that does protect an economy from outside forces, which is basically what all this is that like we keep having these economies that are being driven by the outside force of basically the speculative people in the community.
Sure.
Like when people are speculating on it, they can be doing it for the success of the project in their head. Like if it's worth more, then the project's going to succeed. That's not actually true. Like it is just for market sentiment purposes, but because if a project like tanks, like if the price tanks after a token sale, that doesn't mean that their product is all of a sudden bad. It just means that now it has something else to overcome, which is first getting past this price dump, and also then, like winning back the hearts and minds of their community. And so they're linked. And like we actually look at like I see this from like managing communities. As soon as the price goes down, the community is up in arms and they're like bouncing. Yeah. It's like, if you want to see a project succeed, this is not how you treat projects. It's I don't know. I don't know how to get past it, because like we all keep like, as soon as we see any kind of like weakness, you're like, oh, screw this.
We're done. Yeah.
Well, and then like the company now is to focus on getting everybody back on board.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's why Vitalik, mentioned, I forget when it was, a year and a half, not that long. Sorry. Shoot. Yeah, it feels like forever, but 4 or 5 months ago, more or less saying like, if you guys quit, stop doing this, like if you keep doing the whole crypto kitties, moon Lambos, just like eccentric, we're making so much money off the crypto space, I'm just going to leave the space, because that's not what, he really doesn't feel that's what it's for. He feels like that this really is a barrier, not a barrier, I'm sorry, that this really is like a wedge in between those walls, in between those barriers. It can just slowly, open up more of a floodgate for innovation, and for, like you mentioned, decentralization through other, countries, or even countries within a continent like Africa or South America that are just going through insanely turbulent times.
Yeah, I say this a lot. It feels like the answer to everything, but the answer I think comes in with diversifying the crypto community, like bringing women in, because the heart of what everybody is doing, like when they're like, when Lambo, when Moon, like it's very bro-y.
Yeah.
But it actually is, like, if you're talking about the emotions that drive that kind of behavior, it is hope. And they have hope and they have a belief in the system, and that's just their way of showing their excitement for it. But, at the same time, like, people coming into it don't understand that. And so they, I started this community for women called Slumber Party. It's slumberparty.io. And it's basically a Facebook group, and it encourages women of all kinds to kind of invest in crypto, because I just want to get more women into the community. And so I basically focus on, like, there's so many people in all these communities that kind of don't know what they're talking about, but they act like they do. So people on the outside are like, oh my God, like everybody's so smart. And it's like, no, everyone's still trying to figure this shit out. Like, nobody knows what's happening here. Yeah. And like, I always say, like, the thing that you have to be careful of the most is certainty, because there's nothing certain about this. And like certainty, or the false belief of certainty, is like a true killer of innovation. Wow.
And by the way, I'm pulling up slumberparty.io. No boys allowed. I love it. I'm very, very happy you did that. Truly, because I know I didn't give too much background on myself, but I created a stock market education company not too long ago where I kind of inform people of all ages, like, if you're kindergarten or 99 years old or male or female. Unfortunately, I'm like the demographic for all investing, tall white dude. And it's like, how do we get more women not only involved in the stock market, but just finance and investing in general? I do think there's a massive disparity, massive disparity. That's another reason I reached out. I was like, oh my gosh, whoa. And so I hit you up on Twitter, like, who is this creep? But that's pretty much, that's what I felt. Is I was like, I'm very glad that you're doing this because it's needed. And I just want to applaud you for at least stepping out and just trying and pushing that, status quo, because this is really what's needed.
Yeah, and I obviously it's something I think a lot about, because the reason I started the group was because I was learning more about crypto, and there was just so many gaps in like the way that things were explained, and it made me realize that I don't know if this is actually a thing, I just made it up, but I call this thing like social osmosis. Like when you grow up as a man, you like just by being a man, you kind of absorb a certain set of knowledge.
Man stuff, correct.
And women absorb a different set of knowledge. Correct. Like, if I asked you the difference between a BB cream and a CC cream, you'd be like, what?
No idea.
Letters?
Yeah.
Like, those are things that like women know because we've absorbed knowledge about makeup, because when we're alone with groups of women, that's what other women talk about. It's just like, it's just what we are kind of conditioned to know. And where we have like fashion and like stupid house shit and makeup and all that other stuff that we have, men kind of grow up with investing in money and financial information. So like, when you're reading an article, just like kind of explaining what Bitcoin is, if you have no background for investing or for technology, you read that and you're like, I have no idea what any of this means.
Yep.
Like, you're talking about like ROIs and all those other things. And I'm like, the thing that threw me when I started was like when everybody started talking about technical analysis, they're like, oh, this has got a trend here and this is a support line. I was like, what the hell are these words?
Yeah.
Like Google the difference between bull and bear.
Yeah.
Like I don't know any of those things. And so, there are certain types of people who will go and search for that information. There's a lot of more people than that. Will just like, they don't like feeling stupid. And so they just give it up. And like, as soon as they hit some kind of barrier, they're just like, this isn't for me. I'm not good for this. And they miss out on all these opportunities.
You are 100% correct. And that is one of the reasons I got so excited about Bitcoin, is because I could go to people, and again, like as an equity professional, that's what I do full time. I teach people about the stock market. And teach them what technical analysis is, support, resistance, trend lines, all that. But when I could go and tell a 13-year-old, hey man, here's what Bitcoin is, and you can buy it with $5, and you can put $5 in a month, because that's really hard to do with a stock, but you can do it with a crypto. I was like, that is phenomenal. But then, you try to think 10 years down the line, is this going to be around? And for me, with technology continuing to just skyrocket and cashless society is becoming more and more viably, sound, and the dollar getting weaker and weaker by the year, and the U.S. getting more and more in debt, I think it's only a matter of time before there's some type of shift. And it's kind of like hey, you might as well have some just in case.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive.
Yeah. What's your go-to investment advice for like the first person who's like, wants to get into it? They're like, I want to become a crypto millionaire. What do I do? What's your first advice?
Okay. So if they use the words crypto millionaire specifically, because I have had that before happen. I was at a bar or whatever, and someone would come up to me and they go, hey man, do you know anything about Ripple? Do you know how this works? If they use the term crypto millionaire specifically, I will tell them to go watch Banking on Bitcoin. I'll just give them all the informational knowledge that I kind of went down. Go watch Andre Antonopoulos, all the Joe Rogan podcasts that he's been on, every one of his interviews. Like, that was one of my mentors, if you will. Obviously, I didn't work with him directly, but I watched, I think, every documentary that he ever had. Go watch Vitalik Buterin. Go learn about the industry, because investing, you have to invest in what you know. And that is the Warren Buffett approach, meaning if you don't understand it, don't own it. But if you understand it, you should be able to put more money into it. Because if you generally know what it is, it's like, you should shy away or even put in a little bit. But if you're going to put in a lot of time, put more money in and start learning how it works and why, like what are the pros and cons, because there are cons to Bitcoin for sure. There are also pros, and you have to understand what those are, why it's important, who's using it, and you're going to figure out that 90% of them are under the age of 32.
Yeah.
And so it's like us millennials, as time progresses, and the dollar gets weaker and weaker and weaker, which is just happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. So yeah, I'll tell a crypto, someone in that situation, it's going to take you years, but the more knowledgeable you become, the more likely you'll become a millionaire.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of my advice, because one of the biggest revelations that I had was really when Bitcoin Jesus, Mr. Ananopoulos, when he was asked, like, I think Joe Rogan said, he's like, hey man, when do you sell your Bitcoin? Like at what amount of dollars do you just sell and say, hey, I'm happy, I got millions of dollars and I'm good now? And he looks at Joe like dead face. He's like, I don't want dollars. Like, I'm doing this so I can have more Bitcoin, you know? And that was the shift for me, because I was like, whoa, he's never going to sell. Like he plans on 20 years from now having a truckload of Bitcoin that he can loan out and give to people for their mortgages. And then he becomes the bank. A decentralized bank or whatever you will. And he's like, that's his goal. And that shook me for a whole different ride.
Yeah, there was something about Antonopoulos that made me kind of go all in on Bitcoin, and not Bitcoin, but in crypto in general.
Yeah.
And it was when that thing happened, when it first started skyrocketing, and I forget who it was, but somebody was like, I think it might have been Roger Ver on Twitter, was like, you must be loaded right now. You must be like amped. And he was like, oh, I actually don't have that much Bitcoin anymore, because I dedicated my life to Bitcoin for the past 7 years, and that doesn't pay that much money. So I've had to sell most of my Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So then the next day, everybody on Reddit posts he got $8 million in donations from his community. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, no, that is huge.
I think that one of the things I've always I'm kind of an eternal optimist, but one of the things I believe in people in general is that when you give them the opportunity to do the right thing, they will. Mm-hmm. And it's just that most people doubt them. And when you go into a situation doubting a person, you're setting them up for failure, because then they not only do they have to do the thing that you're asking them to do, but they have to battle your doubt at the same time. But if you just give them the opportunity, it happened with the economy here. As soon as taxes started going up, as a society, all these community organizations like Shriners and all of these community organizations that had been raising money for their communities, they kind of went away. Because if someone's paying already 30% of their income to the government, they're going to be like, all right, now this is your responsibility. You're taking my money. You have to solve these problems that we used to solve. And so people don't give that much anymore. Mm-hmm. But if we just kind of let people do it themselves, I feel like they would.
I'm going to have to end on that, because that was phenomenal. I really appreciate your time tremendously. I'll send you a copy of this recording, this video later, because whoever's watching it now, this has already happened. So this is their present is our past. But yeah, thank you so much for spending the time with me. I've learned a great deal. I'm gonna research a lot of those projects. I'll probably be contacting you again for either a second discussion at some point, or you can contact me, or let's figure out a way to
for sure,
whatever we need to do to keep this ball rolling. Phenomenal interview. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yep, you're most welcome. Have a great night, Calley. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.